Hey, everybody out there on the interwebs. It's me, indie comic book creator Anthony Sica. I am the creator, writer, and artist of Oh My God, Venus and Mars, Misty America, and so much more, coming from Wild Mercury Comics. Right there. I always get the side wrong. Wild Mercury Comics. It's my self published imprint. I've been doing it for about 2 years, but I have been a lifelong comic book fan. I'm 50 years old. I grew up with Marvel and DC. And then, like everybody else, you hit puberty, you go to high school, you get in with girls, you play in metal bands, which I have, playing punk bands, playing rock bands. And guess what? Forget about comic books. Well, in the early 90s, I fell in love with four girls at the same time. I finally had a full time job, had a little extra cheddar in my pocket. I went to a comic book store and I fell in love with four girls. Those girls were right behind me on that poster. She by Billy Tucci. Even though this is a new issue, I fell in love with Lady Death by Brian Pulido and the original artist Stephen Hughes. Chaos Comics, all the way to Coffin Comics, man. Cradle to the Grave with Lady Death. Another girl I fell in love with besides she and Lady Death, a little girl named Razor. That's right. Razor, baby. Razor. Everett Hartsoe. And the fourth one, which I don't have an example in front of me, is David Max Kabuki. David Max Kabuki, another bad girl sensation. You'll see on my wall right here, we got the little Gen 13, J. Scott Campbell. He helped me fall in love with bad girl stuff. But you know what? Before that, when I was in high school, before I gave up comics, I was picking up stuff like Love and Rockets, a lot of 2000 AD, a lot of black and white stuff, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original black and whites. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff I'm into. I'm going to stream a video maybe once a week, maybe even Tuesday nights. Tony Tuesday nights with Anthony Sica. Tuesday nights, maybe TNA Tuesdays, Bad Girl Comics. I'm going to have, once I get my subscriptions up, once I get people following and watching my chats and stuff, we're going to get, we're going to be getting creators on. I'm going to be reviewing some comics, some newer stuff. Going to be reviewing some older stuff. Maybe I'll have some pre-recorded like cartoonist kayfabe type stuff where I just go through my favorite Outlaw comic, my favorite indie comic, my favorite bad girl comics of yesteryear. Now, getting back to Outlaw comics, what is an Outlaw comic? An Outlaw comic is always independently published. You won't have Marvel or DC publishing Outlaw comics. You really won't even have Image publishing Outlaw comics, except if it was in the early 90s. Some extreme stuff, could be considered some Outlaw comics, but most of the time they're in black and white. I think Dan Fraga's Black Flag. I think those first issues, those black and white issues, those were pretty much Outlaw comics, but they weren't so mature. And that's one of the things about Outlaw comics. They're not for kids. They're for folks like you and me, grown-up folks, grown-ass folks who aren't offended by nudity, sexual situations, drug usage, profanity, a lot of violence. If you can remember the Tim Vigil Faust, Grips, some Tim Tyler stuff, Ed Piskor's new stuff. Lots of blood, lots of really black ink. It's an Outlaw comic. What's a bad girl comic? You guys know what bad girl comics are. Shall we go on? We got Dark Child. Okay, we have Razor. We have Ricky Caramello's Double Impact. These are bad girl comics. We got Image stuff. We got Lethal. We got Glory. We got, more Dark Child, Randy Queen stuff. Rob Liefeld, Evangeline, photo covers, all kinds of cool stuff. We got new stuff. We got Razor, mid-90s. We got Razorverse, Everett Hartsoe, making a great comic, great campaign on Indiegogo called Bayonet, which he's now out of. Thankfully, he crowdfunded that completely, and he's out of all the issues. Guys and gals, creators from the 90s who are still kicking ass today, still relevant. People like Ricky Cavallero, okay? Double Impact stuff on Kickstarter right now, okay? Jazz in China, Double Impact stuff. Great stuff. Stuff like that. We have got Everett Hartstow. Everett Hartstow still. Everett Hartstow still kicking ass. Still kicking ass with the Razorverse, a bunch of horror comics, real cool stuff. As I said, Coffin Comics, Brian Polito, formerly Chaos, now Coffin Comics, his company now. Great customer service, great comics. His Bad Girl, Lady Death, still going strong, like almost 30 years later. And, just really, really cool stuff, man. Really cool stuff that I like to talk about. I have friends of mine online, crowdfunding, people like Lucifer Storm over in England making a great outlaw comic called Lady Satan. We have all those comic skaters and those crowdfunders, a lot of independent stuff, some Bad Girl stuff. Mandy Summers, Pirate Queen comes to mind. That's real cool stuff. Get real cool Bad Girl stuff. You got people like Bill Mouse, old Nira. He's still kicking ass. He's working on Beard Zerker, I believe, and he's got his Kira versus cheerleaders crowdfunding going on. Great new artwork, great campaigns, great stuff. Bad Girl comics, indie comics, outlaw comics, they're all fair game to me. Whether it's Gen 13 or whether it's Lady Satan or whether it's like this Stake by Scout Comics. David Byrne, great writer, friend of mine. He may not consider it a Bad Girl comic, but I do. It's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Lady Death. Anyway, again, Anthony Sica, Wild Mercury Comics. I'm going to be here every week. Hopefully I get some guests. Hopefully I get some comic book creators who make outlaw comics, indie comics, Bad Girl comics. If you want on the program with me, if you have some ideas, hey man, I'm all new to this. I was a professional musician for like the last 25 years of my life. I've been semi-retired because of the COVID-19. Since the pandemic, I haven't played any music. I used to play metal. I used to play hard rock. I used to play punk, but I put my creative efforts into making comic books, something that I've loved my whole life. Again, 50-year-olds. I've been reading comic books for probably 45 of those 50 years. So, man, I've been through the whole Bronze Age, the Modern Age, and, there is nothing by Marvel and DC that excites me. And to be honest with you, other than a few titles at Image and some, I can't be remiss by talking about Jim Ballant and Broadsword Comics. Going to be talking about them a lot. Big fans of their work. Big fan of Jim Ballant. Those people have been doing it themselves for over 20 years. That's great stuff, man. No corporate BS, no corporate lazy stuff. I want to talk about comics made by creators who make them for themselves. And if the audience digs them, then that's gravy. And then secondly, when the audience does dig them, they treat their fans right. They make stuff that their fans want, and they provide the customer service to get them the comic books that they want to read. In this program, I'm not going to be talking about what AT&T and Disney and even Image wants me to read, or even my local comic book store. I'm going to talk about what Anthony Sica in my mind, body, and soul wants to read. And hopefully, I'll turn you guys on to some stuff that maybe you'll want to read. But anyway, signing out. This is my first kind of test stream. I'm going to be sharing this video. Please subscribe and maybe get on the program with me. Ciao.